I want you to take a second and just try to imagine the absolute worst possible environment to launch a groundbreaking, globally recognized educational philosophy.
Right, it's pretty hard to picture.
Just think about the logistics here. You have zero funding.
None at all.
Literally no prestige, no institutional backing, and your target demographic, 60 kids running completely rampant in a slum.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking little vandals, just completely unsupervised, destroying property left and right.
Which, is a really stark contrast to what most of us picture when we hear the name Montessori today.
Exactly. And welcome to today's deep dive, because if you're familiar with early childhood education, that name probably conjures up, images of elite, pristine classrooms.
Right, the beautifully crafted wooden materials.
Yeah, and a really hefty tuition bill. But we are stripping all of that away today. We're getting into this incredible analysis of Maria Montessori's book, The Discovery of the Child.
Specifically focusing on her chapter 3, which is the inaugural address.
Right. And our mission today is to extract the gritty, frankly surprising origins of this method, and then look at how you can actually apply her revolutionary home environment principles to your own living space today.
It's a journey that completely shatters that modern, sanitized perception of the method. We are looking at a historical experiment that didn't just change schooling.
No, it really didn't.
It fundamentally redefined how we view human dignity.
Yeah.
And not just in privileged children, but in all children.
Yeah. And to really grasp the genius of the Montessori home environment, we have to look at the sheer chaos that forced it into existence. So we're traveling back to January 6, 1907.
Set in the scene.
To a neighborhood in Rome called San Lorenzo. And the historical context provided in the text paints a very, very dark picture.
Yeah, San Lorenzo at the time was widely known as the shame of Rome.
Which is quite a title.
It really is. It was this impoverished, deeply dilapidated district. The housing was practically falling apart. The streets were just filled with trash.
And anyone who could afford to leave did.
Exactly. The people who remained were these desperate, hardworking laborers who had to take whatever grueling jobs they could find just to survive the intense poverty of that era.
Which naturally meant leaving their kids behind. If both parents are working 14-hour days just to put bread on the table, childcare isn't even a concept.
Right. It's a luxury they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
So you had this population of about 60 children, mostly between the ages of 3 and 7.
Just left to their own devices.
Left in the streets and the tenement buildings all day long. They had no structure, no guidance, and really nowhere to go.
And what do 60 unsupervised, bored, neglected kids do?
They wreck things.
They completely wreck things. The historical record describes them essentially as little vandals. They were defacing the buildings, breaking things, causing absolute mayhem in the courtyards.
But it wasn't maliciousness.
No, of course not.
It was just the raw energy of 60 kids with zero outlets. But this is where the story takes a turn that fundamentally changes how you look at the whole method.
Yes. Because the origin of the very first Montessori space wasn't an educational initiative at all.
Not even close.
It was a social housing project.
Yeah.
The engineer in charge of renovating these San Lorenzo tenement buildings was at his wit's end. These kids were actively destroying his freshly plastered walls.
Just tearing them up.
Right. So he literally went to Dr. Maria Montessori, who at the time was known as a physician working with marginalized children, and basically begged her to intervene.
And his motivation was entirely about protecting his real estate investment.
Completely financial. He told her to take the kids off the streets and put them in a room, essentially just to save the buildings.
It's wild. The foundational moment of a system that would go on to shape the minds of innovators, artists, and leaders globally was literally born out of property preservation.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because it's like discovering that the world's most famous Michelin star restaurant started as a strategy to keep raccoons out of an alleyway.
That's a great way to put it.
The most revered early childhood system in the world started as an engineer's desperate damage control strategy.
But that paradox is exactly why this experiment yielded such profound results.
How so?
Well, a project born out of property preservation became the ultimate experiment in human potential because it lacked the traditional constraints of schooling.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Montessori wasn't hired to force some state-mandated curriculum on them. She wasn't preparing them for standardized exams.
She just had to keep them in a room.
Exactly. She was given a room, a group of chaotic children, and the absolute freedom to just observe what they actually needed to function as human beings.
But when you're handed 60 destructive kids to essentially warehouse, the default reaction in 1907 would be lockdown.
Oh, absolutely. The natural assumption is that you need to tame them, right?
Mhm.
Discipline them, restrict their movement,
Right. But Montessori agreed to take the children with one strict, non-negotiable condition.
which was huge.
Yeah. The space she was going to run would absolutely not be a school. Because in 1907, a school is a place of intense physical and mental repression.
It meant heavy wooden desks bolted to the floor,
Bolted down.
bolted down. It meant absolute silence. And it usually involved a teacher walking the aisles with a stick to enforce compliance through fear.
And she looked at these children from San Lorenzo and realized that repression was the absolute last thing they needed. I mean, they were already marginalized by society.
They were emotionally starved.
Exactly. Locking them into heavy desks would just breed more resentment. So she called it a house, a casa dei bambini.
A children's house,
Yeah.
which required a complete reimagining of the physical environment. She was really the first person to actively scale the world down to the child.
Right, because before this, children just lived in a world built entirely for adults.
They were expected to adapt to oversized furniture and inaccessible tools, which, inherently makes a child dependent and frustrated.
Look, if you follow this topic or have ever set foot in a modern preschool, you already know about the child-sized furniture,
Sure.
the low tables, the lightweight chairs, the small sinks installed at their height so they can wash their own faces.
It's standard practice now.
It is, but what's fascinating in this inaugural address isn't the furniture itself, it's the psychological mechanism behind it. It's how altering that physical space triggered a massive behavioral shift.
Yes, because by changing the physical environment, she introduced this concept of collective ownership.
Okay, break that down.
She essentially communicated to these children,
Yeah.
this is your house. You clean it. You arrange it. You are the masters of this place.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back on this a little, or at least play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
I hear collective ownership and handing over cleaning supplies, brooms, water pitchers, and fragile flower vases to a group of kids who were literally defacing walls a week prior. And I'm thinking,
Recipe for disaster.
total recipe for disaster. If a modern parent sees their toddler breaking things, the instinct is to childproof everything by locking it away.
Right.
You definitely don't hand them a glass vase.
It seems counterintuitive, I know. But what's fascinating here is that we have to look at the underlying psychology of rebellion.
Okay.
When children are deprived of warmth, neglected, and constantly treated as a nuisance by the adult world, they internalize that identity.
They become the vandals they're told they are.
Exactly. They rebel against an environment that actively rejects them. But when you place them in a setting scaled perfectly to their bodies, an environment that physically demonstrates you fit here, you belong here, and then you trust them with real, tangible responsibility.
The dynamic flips.
Completely flips.
The text notes that these vandals transformed into what she called guardians of beauty. They started wiping down those low tables with absolute care.
Meticulously arranging flowers.
Yeah. They even started walking on their tiptoes just to avoid disturbing their peers who were concentrating.
Montessori described this phenomenon so beautifully in her inaugural address. She said, "It was as if the spirit is released from the bottle.
Wow.
The rebellion evaporates because the friction of the environment is gone. It gets replaced by intrinsic discipline."
Because they aren't behaving because a teacher is threatening them with a stick.
Exactly. They are behaving because they feel a deep, personal desire to protect their own home. Mastery of their physical environment builds their executive function and their self-regulation.
The spirit released from the bottle. That is such a vivid way to describe a child suddenly discovering their own agency.
It really is.
And seeing that transformation happen so fast going, from property destroyers to floor sweepers who walk on tiptoes, obviously gave her a massive jolt of confidence.
Oh, without a doubt.
It led to a very bold prediction that she made right there in the slums.
Right, and we have to set the scene for this prediction because the contrast is incredible. It's January 6th, 1907, the opening day of the Casa dei Bambini.
The grand opening.
Well, sort of. It was as humble a beginning as you could possibly imagine. A stark, simple room in the shame of Rome.
Yeah, attendance was incredibly low. There was no press, no media attention, definitely no ribbon-cutting ceremony.
None of it.
The people who showed up were mostly just simple locals, parents of the children, maybe a few curious neighbors.
Yet, despite the complete lack of fanfare, Montessori stood up and delivered her inaugural address.
Yeah.
And in it, she made this sweeping prophecy.
What does she say?
She said, "I have a strange feeling that this work we are beginning today will not remain confined to this neighborhood, but will spread like light to illuminate the whole world."
I just marvel at the sheer audacity required to stand in a slum looking at 60 kids who were tearing down the walls a month prior and predict global transformation.
It was incredible confidence.
But she saw something in the mechanics of what was happening that no one else was looking for, and she was completely validated.
She was. Within months, the word started to spread far beyond Rome. It didn't just reach other educators either.
Who was coming?
Royalty, prime ministers, prominent politicians, scientists from all around the world. They started flocking to San Lorenzo.
They traveled into an impoverished slum just to witness what was happening in this room.
Exactly.
And what's wild to me is that these foreign dignitaries were traveling all that way to witness a miracle, but the actual mechanics of that miracle lowered, sinks, accessible brooms, scaled-down chairs, are things we still struggle to fully integrate into our own modern homes.
Yeah, they really had to see it to believe it. And what they saw were 3- and 4-year-olds who were teaching themselves to read and write
Spontaneously.
without a traditional teacher directing them.
But the early literacy, as impressive as it was, wasn't even the core revelation.
No, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the true miracle that these global leaders witnessed was the undeniable proof of human dignity.
Yeah.
They saw a profound, almost angelic calm in the eyes of these children. Keep in mind, these were children that society had completely written off as outcasts.
As an unmanageable nuisance. That's the real takeaway from San Lorenzo. It proves so definitively that a child's potential is dictated by their environment, not their socioeconomic background.
Absolutely.
These were the exact same kids from the streets. The only thing that changed was the furniture and the level of respect they were given.
It revealed that human genius and dignity are universal.
Yep.
They are innate in every single child, simply waiting for the right physical and emotional environment to unlock them.
It's all about the environment.
When you remove the barriers of an adult-sized world, the child's natural drive for order and purpose just takes over.
Well, if physical scale and ownership unlocked dignity in 1907 Rome, I'm looking at my own living room right now and realizing I might be actively working against the kids in my life.
It's a common realization.
So, having established that the environment is the secret ingredient, we have to transition directly to you, listening right now. How can you take the magic of San Lorenzo and implement it in your own home today?
It requires a core philosophical shift for parents and caregivers. You have to look at your house and intentionally transform elements of it to accommodate the child's physical reality.
You want to create that Casa de Bambini feeling.
Exactly, within your own walls.
So what does this all mean? Think about it this way. Imagine how frustrating your daily life would be if you lived in a house built for giants.
Oh, that would be awful.
Your kitchen counters are at your eye level. The door handles are way above your head. Every single time you want a simple drink of water, you have to find a giant, tug on their pant leg, and beg them to lift you up to the sink.
You would feel entirely helpless.
You would probably act out. It's built-in frustration. By shrinking the tools and the access points down to their size, we're actually growing their independence.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. The very first actionable step is to physically get down to the child's level.
Literally sit on the floor.
Literally, sit on the floor of your kitchen, your living room, your entryway. Look at the world from their physical vantage point. What can they actually reach?
What can they do for themselves without having to ask an adult for help?
Exactly.
Let's give some really simple, concrete examples of child-sized adjustments you can make right now. Because you don't need to remodel your house or buy expensive branded furniture.
No, not at all.
It starts with something as small as a drinking cup.
Right. Provide a small, real glass or sturdy cup that is kept on a low, accessible shelf in the kitchen or dining area.
Somewhere they can reach.
Yes. Next to it, place a small pitcher with a little bit of water. Suddenly, when the child is thirsty, they don't need to cry or whine for your attention.
They can just walk over, pour their own water, drink it, and put the cup away. You've removed the friction.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about my own entryway, too, because every single day, it's a battle with the kid's jacket just tossed on the floor.
The classic jacket on the floor.
Right. But I just realized I'm literally engineering my own frustration because the coat hooks are 5 feet off the ground.
Installing a low coat hanger is one of the easiest and most effective adjustments you can make.
Just a simple hook on the wall.
At their eye level. When they come inside, instead of handing their jacket to you or dropping it, They have a dedicated, accessible place to hang it themselves.
You are providing the physical infrastructure they need to be responsible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this feeds directly into the second major application, which is fostering that sense of collective ownership,
We have to stop treating the house as just mom and dad's house.
where the kid is basically a long-term guest who just consumes things and makes messes.
Right.
You want to create tasks and spaces that make the child feel it is equally their home. For example, if they spill something, and they absolutely will,
Guaranteed.
instead of rushing over to clean it up for them while sighing in frustration, have a small, child-sized cleaning cloth easily accessible on a low hook.
Teach them the steps to wipe up the spill themselves.
Exactly.
Handing them the cloth instead of handing them a screen to distract them while you clean.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And you can also give them a small watering can and make it their specific daily job to water the living room plant.
I love that.
Or let them help prepare food using a safe, child-friendly cutter at a low table.
So they're contributing.
When they actively contribute to the maintenance of the home, they feel a deep sense of belonging and pride. They transition from being passive consumers of your household to active, capable contributors.
Okay, I have to ask the question that every parent is shouting at their speakers right now.
I think I know it's coming.
Where is the line between empowering them and letting them accidentally burn the house down?
Fair question.
I mean, I love the idea of independence and I want my kid to feel ownership in the kitchen, but I also have a hot stove, sharp chef's knives, and toxic cleaning supplies. How do we balance this idea of the casa with keeping them safe?
That is a critical distinction. Applying these principles does not mean abandoning boundaries or common sense.
It's not a free-for-all.
No, definitely not. The goal is to curate a yes space within the broader environment.
A yes space, meaning a zone where they don't have to constantly hear the word no.
Yes. You don't give them free access to the sharp knives or the hot stove. Instead, you create a specific low drawer or cupboard in the kitchen that is entirely theirs.
Just for them.
It contains their safe utensils, their plates, their small water pitcher. You secure the heavy furniture to the walls. You cover the dangerous outlets. You put the hazardous materials way up high.
So you do all the behind-the-scenes work.
You do the work to make the environment structurally safe so that within that curated zone, you can step back and say yes to their independent exploration.
So you're essentially engineering the space so they can't fail catastrophically, but they can still completely manage their own little ecosystem.
You are maximizing autonomy while minimizing severe risk. And the ultimate result of this effort is profound.
Tell me.
By putting in this upfront work, you aren't raising a dependent follower who constantly looks to an adult to tell them what to do next.
Right.
You are nurturing what Montessori called a little master of their environment, a child who moves with purpose, coordination, and deep self-respect.
A little master of their environment. I love that phrasing. It really brings home the point that children don't actually need flashy toys with 100 batteries to thrive.
They really don't.
They don't need elite private academies to unlock their potential. As the history of San Lorenzo proves, they just need a space where they feel they truly belong and possess the tools to function autonomously.
When you respect their physical scale, you validate their psychological worth. It is arguably the most powerful message you can send to a child without ever saying a word.
This has been such a fascinating journey. We started today looking at a desperate attempt by a property engineer to stop slum vandalism in Rome in 1907.
Quite the origin story.
And we explored how a doctor responded not with harsh discipline, but with low tables, small sinks, and the radical psychological shift of collective ownership.
Transforming vandals into guardians of beauty.
And we've brought it all the way to your living room, looking at the highly actionable steps you can take today, like simply installing a low-coat hook, setting up a yes space, or dedicating a low shelf for their cups to release that spirit from the bottle.
The history really is a testament to the profound power of our surroundings. And if I may, this raises an important question for all of us, not just Karens.
Awesome. That's nice.
We've spent this time exploring how scaling the physical environment down to a child's size and granting them true ownership completely transforms their psychology from rebellious to responsible.
Right.
It makes you wonder, if physical scale and ownership can entirely rewrite a child's behavior and self-worth, in what ways are the physical designs of our adult environments, our sterile, one-size-fits-all offices, our unchangeable gray cubicles, secretly stunting our own sense of ownership, creativity, and inner dignity?
Oh, man. Are we all just reacting to environments that don't respect us? Are we just grown-up vandals acting out because our offices don't give us any autonomy?
It's a very real possibility.
That is definitely something to chew on the next time you walk into a fluorescent lead workspace. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this empowers you to look at your own living spaces and maybe your workspaces through a brand new lens. Until next time.